Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, profiler here, and welcome. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing kind of a part two and going back to the massacre at the Lane Bryant store in Tinley, Illinois. This was 16 years ago. This was back in 2008. And this is really bothering me because this should be solved. This should be solved with the information that's out there. I don't believe that no one knows this guy. Someone knows this guy. Okay. This guy's not invisible. And his picture is done really well now in 3D and put out by law enforcement. And I am sure there are people that know him and people can call law enforcement. And what we want to do is we want to get this out and please spread it around because we really believe this is one dangerous dude. I don't know if he's in prison somewhere or he's dead. My guess is, he's not in prison because, I think they don't have any matches on him. So they would have picked up on that. But you never know. People fall through the cracks all the time. However, this is a very dangerous dude. Out of the 6 women that he abducted and controlled, he shot the 6. He shot all 6 of them in the back of the head, but 5 of them died. He killed 5. One kind of moved when he was shooting. She got shot in the neck. She played dead. He left, but she survived, and she's a fantastic witness here who's given out a great description that law enforcement has turned into a 3D sketch, and it really, I think it's extremely well done. And I think it's only, if we can get it out there, it's only a matter of time they get this guy or they find out what happened to him, because somebody will recognize him. Somebody will recognize him. Yes, he probably changed his looks right after the murders, right after the robbery. Again, it's the Lane Bryant store in Tinley, Illinois that was robbed 10 o'clock in the morning, which is a little crazy. But bottom line is, even though he changed his looks, I will guarantee you there are people out there that can identify this guy right away. There's no doubt in my mind. With that being said, I want to send our deepest condolences out to the victims. Very sad situation. Not only to the victims that were murdered, but the families that were left after losing their loved ones. I mean, this is positively a shame that a man can come in and take the lives of 6 of your loved ones and just walk out the door and get away with it. This is some pretty sad and hard stuff to digest. And hopefully we can nail this guy. We're going to get after him right now. We started last week, but we're really going to put a full court press on this one because we want this guy. I want to know what happened to him. I want to know if he's dead. I want to know if he's in jail or he's still out there. And if he's still out there, he's going for a ride. He's going for a ride. There's no question about it. Sorry, folks. You just lost me for a minute there. I'll be back on. Yep, there I am. Sorry. Popping off, right? So anyway, with all that being said, I don't have to get into my disclaimer because he hasn't been caught yet. But, we'll see what happens when he gets caught. And I'm saying when, not if. Or if we find out he's been murdered himself or he died of an overdose or something, we'll see. If he's still alive, we'll hopefully this will bring him down. Leah, fill us in, fill the audience in on exactly, what took place here.
Yeah, of course, John. So you did a good job. You're talking about some stuff here. So to fill in things here, this happened, as you said, on February 2nd. This was in 2008. It was a Saturday morning. The Lane Bryant store in Tinsley Park had just opened up, 10 a.m. here. And then at 10:08, a man enters the store here. He's posing as a delivery driver. That's his suspected ruse here. He supposedly looks up at the ceiling, glancing around we're assuming for cameras here to see if there's anything there. And once he realizes that there's no cameras, then he drops his ruse and he whips out a gun. So he pulls out a gun and he takes the store manager and a part-time employee and eventually 4 customers into the back room, I guess the back break room there, and he holds them hostage. So these women were then bound with duct tape and shot, execution style. He supposedly had them bind each other's wrists and feet. And he also, at one point, grabbed some underwear from the store and used it to cover their heads. So out of the 6 women, as you mentioned, 5 of them, unfortunately, were killed here. But the part-time employee, she ended up surviving since she moved slightly. So she's the one who's been able to give the details to the events here and what happened. She also provided some details as to what the gunman looked like. I can give those details here. So according to the police poster and sketch here, the offender is a male. He's about 6 foot, 6'2". He's black, husky build, broad shoulders, approximately 25 to 35 years of age, medium to dark skin tone. His hair is braided with 3 to 5 puffy cornrows pulled back towards the back of his head, with 1 braid hanging down to the right cheek with 4 light green beads on the end. And as he said, this was from at the point when he robbed the store and murdered the women. So he could have changed this. He was wearing at the time a dark in color below the waist length jacket, black jeans with embroidery on the back pocket, similar to a cursive G. I mean, he was also wearing a charcoal gray ski or skull cap. And then he has not been identified as of yet. So we're still trying to figure out who this guy is. That's where we're at now.
Yeah, and we're going to find him. And also today, folks, we're very lucky and honored to have Dustin Ranck, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. He's brought up some different hits that I agree with, and I should have brought them out last time I was doing a show on this, but I didn't want to overwhelm you with everything. And he's going to give his 2 cents of where he thinks this guy came from and what he thinks this guy could have been involved in. And it's very important because Dustin has a lot of experience. He's a licensed private detective. He's got a lot of experience on the street, and especially in these types of areas. Please, Dustin, take it from here and fill the audience in. They always appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate them as well as you guys. And hey, John and Lee, it's good to be back with you guys. Yeah, this is a completely almost unbelievable case when you really start drilling down into some of this minutia, when this came out, when you brought this out last week, like you were saying, Lane, we were talking, it's like, man, how did this not get more press when it happened? Because I mean, Tinsley Park's it's a tiny little burb, right? Like it's crazy that there wasn't more floating around it, but it got me thinking, and especially when we've got, first off, I'm going to talk for a second just about like the triangle of crime, right? Excuse me, allergies are killing me in the flyover states today. In order kind of for crime to occur, there's like 3 things that have to exist, and you have to have a motivated offender. You've got to have the lack of guardianship, right? And then you've got to have a suitable target. But when we look at this Lane Bryant shooting, the only thing we've got is a motivated offender, like obviously because he committed the crime, right? But, when you talk about guardianship, we just really mean that there's people around, right? It could be security. It could just be that, hey, it's the time of day where everybody's around, which is why like property crimes typically happen during work hours, right? Because everybody's off making bread. So we have guardianship. I mean, hell, we got 6 people in the store, couldn't have more. But the thing is too, we don't have a suitable target. I mean, this is a plus size dress shop in a suburb in a small-ish town. Yeah, it's adjacent to Chicago, but there's only like 55,000 people there in 2008. So what in the world is this dude showing up at opening time? I mean, any criminal that, I mean, not that we're like calling these dudes really smart or anything, but like what kind of criminal doesn't know that 10 a.m. is not when, like, there's cash in a business, so that kind of ties back to your analysis of this guy having some sort of fiend thing going on with dope, because this just doesn't make any sense. But I started wondering, like, okay, like if this guy is kind of off the rails, what's up with this? What's up with this dumb ruse of a delivery guy? Hell, he's not even dressed for it. He's dressed like a hip hop kid, or even a gang. Things aren't always tied together. Misunderstand me with that, but this dude, he's got braids, he's got beads with color, he's got some like kind of designer jeans on. I mean, come on, man. This dude couldn't be more visible if he tried. You know what I mean? Like, he's in a shopping mall with 5 people in the store. He doesn't have a mask on. I mean, none of that seems to bother this guy at all. I started wondering about and then we get to the execution part of, like, okay, he grabs the money and, normally you would think I could see somebody killing one person, but heck, he's committing 6 homicides. I mean, this is not this dude's first rodeo by a long shot. I mean, you don't go from, boosting cars and stuff to like 6 homicides like tomorrow. As well as I do, this guy's got some practice somewhere. But I started wondering, like, where did this guy, what was this guy's methodology, because in addition to being a private investigator, like in my state, I hold an armed private investigator's license, but I also have armed private security training, even though I'm not licensed for that, just for transparency, but those 2 things go together. So I've taken them both. Anyway, a guy that's in the in a security position, he's gonna have some basic knowledge of law enforcement. I mean, it is not comparing this to the police academy, so let's not get that confused. But there is some working knowledge, especially around things like theft and how to secure a person. Basic arrest principles. Handling people, command presence, like using your voice. Things like that, using particular words, to kind of get people's attention, stuff like that. Does this guy have is he working somewhere? It's like, where the hell did he come up with that idea, right? Because a security guard in most places is going to be the guy, like when you have a delivery, because I've worked in places where we've had security, and the security guy, no matter, it doesn't matter if it's Amazon, it doesn't matter who it is. If you got a store with security in it, the security guard, and if he's a good security guy, he's never going to just be like, yo, hey, Bob or whoever, Gina, whoever it is, they're going to check the ID, because there can be inconsistencies there that you might not see one time. Things could have changed. You just stick to the formula, right? So where the hell does this guy get this idea to pull off a robbery where, if he's a street guy or he's done time, and it kind of sounds like there's probably a pretty good chance that he has, it had to come from somewhere. Now, he could have gotten that from the military, could have tried to have maybe, applied at some point in his life to become law enforcement, couldn't cut it, drops into the security role, which we see a lot, statistically. But when I'm looking at, this guy's appearance too, like, the immediate thing that comes to my mind, like, I'm thinking gang color. I'm thinking, like, what colors, like, are relevant on the street? Because when you got a guy that's boosting stuff or he's involved in drugs, all that symbolism, we've talked about this as it relates to other crimes. Symbolism is a big deal to criminals. It's a big deal to subculture in general, even in the non-criminal world. So, is green, like, he's got green, he's got black pants. I mean, are those colors of his set? Is he representing somebody? Green could stand for, there's a drug connection there with the obvious of marijuana. Is this guy a drug dealer somewhere? There's, and the other thing is, security guards, like, if this guy is working that angle, and I'm not saying he is, but, those guys don't make a lot of money, right? Like, I mean, is this guy, did he get, declined, like I said, from law enforcement? Did he maybe have a sexual harassment charge somewhere? And as a security officer, I mean, why is he targeting a women's dress shop? I mean, there's got to be, there has to, I don't know what that connection is, but there has to be something there. So, you know, did this guy did he develop a habit somewhere due to an injury, or just the fact that he's an addict? You know, maybe he's a dealer. I don't know. Is he jonesing, like you said in the last show? Because that really makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, the only thing I can see this guy doing is like, yeah, he's fiending on drugs, and you know, he's just blazed out of his mind. And of course, he's not thinking it through. He's just trying to get, you know, he's trying to get the payout so he can go and get on with his life, care who gets in his way. You know, is this a gang initiation? You know, did some crew send him out to the suburbs to, you know, put some work in? I mean, that's exactly what could happen, because I mean, this guy, you know, like we said, he's not hiding his identity like at all. So there's a lot there, John, that this whole thing, you know, both statistically and like from a street perspective, just, man, this is really a bizarre crime. And yeah, I'm glad you're putting this out there, because this dude is highly dangerous. I mean, if this guy's not dead yet, he certainly didn't stop in 2008. So, I mean, God only knows what kind of damage path this guy's got in his wake, if he's still around or made it for some period of time beyond Lane Bryant, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you that you know, this guy is one scary dude, and when you look at his picture, you can even see like rage in his face. I mean, with these women, because of course
Right.
the only witness gave this information to the sketch artist, so it's what she saw, what she witnessed, and she witnessed this guy's face, and you can see the intensity and rage. And I think I may have this right, Leah. You know for sure. Wasn't he hollering at the women and ordering the women around if they weren't doing it right and weren't doing it fast enough or something?
Yeah,
Wasn't he giving them some, you know, lip over that? Wasn't he going off on them over that?
yeah. Supposedly that part-time employee said that he would had a hot temper if they didn't do what he said. So
I could see that right in this guy's sketch, you know, that he's that rigid.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's loaded with rage. All right. Rage could be his middle name, because I mean, to just execute six women, believing he executed six, but really only five died. Thank God the other girl survived. But leaving that story, he thought he executed six. Okay. And
Yeah.
out he goes, you know. This is a very enraged, angry man. Okay. And anybody that crosses this guy's path really's got to be very, very careful. And we don't know what happened, because anybody that knows him, whether he's in a gang or not, we would suspect there is some social interaction with gangs, or being some kind of hitman, or doing some work, or doing some home invasions or carjackings or whatever. That's where I see this guy too,
Mm-hmm.
or even from being in the service and being in combat. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy has it in him. His motto could be, you know, is out of sight, out of mind. No witnesses. All right. But other people that know of him, and that's why he could be dead, they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't give this guy much of a chance if this guy got mad at them to, you know, do them. You know, I mean, they may have gotten to him first, right?
That's
And because
right.
you know better than I do with the gangs, the competition that goes on. So, you know, for turf and everything, you don't know, you know, what could happen. But the one thing we do know, is we would like to know, is he dead or is he alive? Where is
Mm-hmm.
he? Where is this guy? Because this guy is a stone cold killer, and there is no question in my mind about that, you know. Um, Also, too, you know, he uh, along with being what I believe in is extremely visual kind of person, and that's why I leaned more towards, you know, truck driving or working on a truck, and you know, handling the paperwork that he tried to use as a ruse to show the lady and everything. in the store that he had a delivery. You know, somebody taught him that, you know, that, you have to have paperwork if you're going to deliver something because it got to be signed off on. Like he learned that somewhere. This guy's not that
Sure.
bright, right? And who knows where he learned it from. But just getting back to being a visual kind of person, and I've seen this over and over in these psychos, lots of times that they're hands-on working kind of guys, okay? They're not going to be doing white collar stuff. It's going to be pretty much blue collar, hands-on stuff that they're going to be doing. These kinds of people here. It's not like some of the other serials we've run into over the years, where we've done most of our work, that are also white collar, executive kinds of people. This guy, if he worked at all or did any work besides robbing and killing, I mean, it's hands-on, kind of work, blue collar kind of work. And I like driving because driving is very visual, but also I know many of these guys, and that's why I wanted you to come on and talk about this today, Dustin. Many of these guys try to get into security, and it's really about the control and everything, that they believe they're showing, and they're going to be perceived as being like law enforcement or in some type of control position because they're security guards or into security. So we do see that, and we've come across a number that couldn't get into law enforcement because of their personality disorders, and just weren't bright enough to pass the test, to get into law enforcement, and they hold a grudge there. And they end up to next best thing, which is security, but they always carry that grudge with them too. And lots of times, well, I'll show you, I'm smarter than you are, even though you didn't give me a chance or something, they hold that grudge, But, this guy is pretty interesting dude. And again, another thing that leads me to believe he's very visual, and Aaliyah, help me here if I'm wrong, but he had the girls tie up each other, right? With their hands, tie their hands and feet. He had, other women tie each other up, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
he
how.
brought duct tape.
Okay, he brought the duct
Yeah,
tape.
he brought the
Right,
duct tape.
okay.
Had them
Okay.
tape each other's wrists and feet.
So what you're seeing there is you're seeing his ritual. I mean, this guy knows the drill. Like you said, Dustin, it's not his first rodeo. This guy knows enough to bring the gun and the duct tape.
Yeah, that's a tactical maneuver. You're not going to
Yeah.
go in to any place that's got more than one person in it and spend your time taping them up, tying them up. You're going to absolutely have them do it because you got to like be paying attention to what's going on. Like you're the boss. So
Yeah, absolutely. And the other part of it is he's not, from what I've heard, putting any duct tape over their mouths. I just heard hands and feet from what we understand. So that again leads me to believe not too bright, very visually oriented. So he's worried about what they're seeing. So he put panties over their eyes, women's underwear over their eyes. Okay. So they probably couldn't see each other getting executed or whatever the hell he was doing. I mean, I don't know what was going through his mind, but not very bright, because they could still hear and they could still talk, but yet I'm not hearing about screams. I'm not hearing about gunshots. I don't know if this guy had a suppressor, what kind of silencer he might have. I don't know. But we do know he had enough brains to bring the gun and the duct tape in with them. Pretty. That's a smart move. The dumb move is he's trying to rob a store that doesn't have hardly any money at all in broad daylight at 10:30 in the morning. Okay.
yeah, in the middle of winter too.
in the middle of winter, and
Yeah.
he's going to kill whoever he runs into in there because he's not wearing a mask. So and he
Yeah.
doesn't. But he doesn't want to leave any witnesses because somewhere along the line somebody testified against this guy for some crime, but I don't know what it was. So he's making sure that person's not going to be around next time he goes to court. So he's just going to kill whoever hands him a dollar when he walks in that store is dead. You know what I mean? Because they could see him. They could see him. He doesn't have a mask on.
Right.
Definitely was smart enough though to scope out. No cameras out front, but maybe that's why he came in the front door, didn't come around back. Because usually with deliveries, you kind of come around the back, right? And the stuff's warehoused towards the back of the store. That's where it's inventoried, right? Nah, this
Right.
guy, he comes through the
Right.
front door. He knows there's no cameras. Now he's inside, and as Leah brought out, right, Leah, he was scoping out the area.
Mhm.
When he got inside, was looking up at the ceilings and everything while he had the paperwork.
Mhm.
You know, and so it's like one of these. No cameras. Okay, here's my gun. All right, everybody down, right? Or, oh yeah, I see. You know, in his head, I see a camera. Oh, guess what? This paperwork, this isn't your address. This is a different address. I'm in the wrong place. If there was a camera there, because he can't silence the camera. He can silence the witness, right? She can't say what she saw because she's dead. But the camera can keep rolling. So this is an interesting, very interesting case. I want to see this guy go down. I think we need to really get behind this one. You know, we've talked to a couple other detectives on this, and we're going to put a full court press on this. And you know, and certainly I'm not a detective. I'm a profiler and a psychotherapist, but you know, you guys, Dustin, some of your friends, you know, or guys like you hang out with. I mean, they're real, you know, solid detectives and guys you know, and you know some of my friends, and they're very interested in this. You know, but this is a fellow who has gotten away for quite a while and who should not, I feel, have gotten away with this. I feel this guy should have got collared long ago, and I can't understand why. The only way I can reason this is it wasn't publicized enough. That's my reasoning, that it was not publicized enough, you know, outside of Illinois and maybe throughout Illinois, because tell you what, I mean, what law enforcement has on this guy, and I believe they've done a good job, but they can't control the press. It's up to the press to put out there what they think works for them, right? And what people are interested in. And I believe this was in the press, but I don't think it got the exposure it should have gotten, because we never even knew about it.
Yeah.
And we were deep into murder back in 2008, real knee deep, and you know, we didn't hear of any of this stuff.
The other thing, John, there's a $100,000 reward out for this guy too. So
and 100,000 back in 2008.
Yeah.
And now it's even up. It's been increased to 100 plus, but I don't know what exactly it is. Yeah, you're right. So with the $100,000 reward, you know, that again leads me to believe gang. You know, you snitch, you die. You rat, you die. I mean, when you're part of a crew, right? You don't rat on your friends or people in your crew, or anybody in your family or the gang. So
Well, and it underscores, you know, to that point, John, like it underscores how dangerous this guy is. I mean, this dude's been walking around for 16 years and he hasn't been living in a vacuum, you know, so people that know him obviously know this dude is extremely violent. So with a high degree of, you know, like has no self-control, obviously. You know, he might when he's sober or whatever, but you know, that guy could be a Jekyll and Hyde as soon as he gets high and goes completely bonkers off the deep end. Or he just might be like that all the time. I mean, he might be rolling like that 24/7. If this guy's a shot caller or he's working security for a crew or something like that, or he's taking hit money. I mean, he's that guy's going to be one stone cold dude, and people are damn sure going to be afraid of him. Understandably so. So I'm not criticizing anybody for, feeling that way at all. I mean,
Yeah, no, and then the other part of it is just the again getting back to the training. I mean, he learned to look for cameras on the outside. Somebody taught him that. He learned how to use a ruse, that he was a delivery man with a manifest or invoices or bills, paperwork of some sort, right? He learned that somewhere. He learned how to have other people tie other victims up, have the other people tie them up while you keep them in control. He learned how to do that. He did
absolutely.
it. He did it. He learned how to kill them. He had a reason for putting that undergarments over their heads so they could not see what was happening or what was going on with other women. Okay. It's been taught this. He's been trained. Okay. And again, where? Because if you find out where he was trained or how he was trained, you got a better idea of zoning in on him. And we will. There's no question about it. Guaranteed that one of the cars they were looking at pulling out, I can't say guaranteed, but I don't think was him. I think he was too smart for that because I'm sure he believed other parts of that parking lot did have cameras and other stores did have cameras. He was able to avoid them. To this point, he's batting 1,000. He's got 5 murders and a pocket full of change, and nobody's caught up to him, right? But this is one bad dude who's very, very, very rigid, very impulsive, has a very, very low tolerance, and has a very low anger threshold. Okay. If you're bugging him or not doing something fast enough in some way for him, and obviously, especially if you're a woman, probably with all victims, but it seemed, he didn't care, woman, child, man. I mean, if you were there, you were going. He would have killed you. There's no question about it. No witnesses. He's known
100%.
for not having witnesses. So that tells me again, he's got a prior with somebody where there was a witness or two. Okay. What else do we need to say on this before we break? Anything?
I don't have anything else, John. Like there are, it's kind of interesting. Like there are very few details about the case, but the details that are there are really interesting. We just don't have enough to like kind of tie the whole thing together yet. So at this point, it's gonna keep, we got to keep digging for one, like keeping it out there, like in front of people for one thing. And hopefully somebody, decides to take the authorities up on that reward money. I mean, at some point, like if this dude's ripping and running with a crew or he's, you know, I don't know what his economic status is, but if this dude is boosting a dress shop for $200 and willing to kill 6 people to do it, he's probably not, he's probably not, living real high on the hog, so to speak, would be my guess. But it would make my mind would tell me that people he associates with would probably be able to use that 100 grand. Like, I mean, I certainly could too, but you know what I'm saying? Like this guy's not running around in like a real elite group of criminals or, some crap like that. I mean, this dude is a street player. So $100,000's a lot of money, and hopefully somebody at some point, and it's super important that if your audience doesn't know, and they should if they've been watching you for any amount of time, but yeah, like those tips can be anonymous. Like, the tech is there that you don't have to, it's not like you're strolling into a police station and you don't know, like, hey man, am I going to run into another criminal that's maybe affiliated and see me in the police office? Is my neighborhood going to see me? That stuff's totally anonymous. So it's just imperative that we, like you said, like we don't know what happened to him, but it's important that we know, because if this dude's still around, yeah, he hasn't stopped doing a thing.
When you look at this guy and you look at, the way he was dressed, how did you describe him before? You described his hair, the beads, you described his height, you described what was interesting to me was the jeans too. Go ahead. Would you
Yeah.
describe him one more time?
Yeah, like he's got his hair braided, like he's got some beads in there that are sporting a color, and again, like everything on the street is symbolic. So, for people that aren't used to dealing with it, there's a reason people wear things that they do. There's a reason they wear the colors that they do. All that stuff, like, and this goes with subculture too, big time. So, when you've got a dude that's, and we're going back to, like, this guy is not tried to hide, like he hasn't, middle of winter Chicago. Hell, I mean, this dude could have thrown a ski mask on, a trench coat, and some gloves, and Shazam, like he wouldn't have had to kill anybody. You know what I mean? So when you've got, this guy is going to stand out. I mean, this is a suburban shopping center. Dude rolls in, he's got braided hair, he's got beads, he's got, some, kind of designer style jeans on. There was like an applique or an embossment or some like sparkle designs or something that I believe one of the witness notated to law enforcement, which was a huge key clue, because, I'm not from that area, but if I was an investigator in Tinley Park, you know, in the street trade, there are usually, and this is, you got to remember, this is like before Amazon was like really taken off. I mean, yeah, it was around, but hadn't blown up to the extent that it is now. But I've lived in a couple of places where they have like these outlet stores, right, that have kind of like some unusual stuff. They get some imports in from wherever, that like have these really cool design. They're not necessarily like the best highest quality, but they are cool looking, and they have the styles that like street kids like to wear, whether it's like hip hop kids or gang kids or skaters, like really shop at these places. So when I'm looking at this guy's like apparel and like his thing, like I'd be looking at some of like these outlet stores. I'd certainly be tracking down gang colors. I'd be tracking down every element of that, trying to find a wink, because John, and we've talked about this before when it comes to other cases, like there is always a weak link in a crew, and law enforcement certainly knows that as well. And hopefully, if this case can get a little public momentum behind it, and I'm not saying law enforcement hasn't thought of that. Any good investigator would, certainly. And just because they haven't found him, and I've heard you say this before too, it doesn't mean they don't care. They're working on probably the same exact information we have, which ain't a whole lot. And it's not real easy. One of the big things with crime, especially over a span of it, is people begin to talk. Like, this guy is going to have blown through women, most likely. I mean, he could have a male partner for sure, but this dude is most likely had like some stable family life, for the last 16, 20 years or whatever. He's probably blown some bridges, right? He's probably pissed a few people off. He's probably, you can certainly bet he's gotten his way, whether it's through money, drugs, sex, with a crew or his social circle or somebody close to a social circle. This guy's burned bridges. So in a way that we have this big span of time that he's been roaming the streets, or maybe he's dead, but he hasn't been caught. If he is still around, people get tired of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, especially if he's got a partner, maybe he's got a kid with one of these women or something. People kind of get fed up, and they don't necessarily, his social circle may not want the attention either. And sometimes if they got somebody that's that violent and just like that off the chain, like, you never know where that link is going to be. So hopefully law enforcement can keep leveraging because something almost certainly will pop loose with a guy that's this violent. It's a little harder with a dude like, Dennis Rader, right? Like, I mean, I'm not comparing the two, but that's a dude that blended in that, like had a stable family life, like he had, social connections. Like this guy isn't that. So, I mean, his social connections are not going to be mainstream is what I'm getting at. And he's probably got a lot of burned bridges. So hopefully we can get somebody to dime this guy out to LE and either get him off the street or at least find out what's happened to him. Because if they find out what happens to him, like you said, you can find out where he's been. You just start backtracking it and start filling in the gaps, and that'll give us a better picture.
Yeah, I think that's about it for today, and we'll talk to our friends and see what they want to, how far they want to push this, and a lot of them want to jump on the bus. I want to see
Yeah,
this guy get caught because this guy's horrendous. This guy's got
absolutely.
a lot of families that are doing a lot of grieving for a lot of years.
Absolutely.
Leah, do you have anything else before we break?
No, I think you guys covered it all. Yeah, you did good.
All right. Well, just want to thank you guys really for your time today and for your focus on this. Did a great show. Appreciate it. Extremely professional. Thank you so much. Dustin, can't thank you enough for donating some time over here. We'll try to catch this guy. Bottom line, to our audience, if you know anything at all about this, please call law enforcement. Leah will put the numbers up there, the links up there for you. You'll have everything you need. You'll have a picture of this guy. Please look at it. See if you can, decipher. If you know anything, please say something and let law enforcement know. Because I guarantee you, those 5 women that died, 6 were shot, 5 died, 1 survived, were not his last shootings or his last victims. Okay, this guy's got some bodies since 2008. Unless he OD'd or somebody whacked him, I don't know. But we want to find out where he is. Okay. Families are very, very downtrodden over this experience. You never get over something like this. So anyway,
Absolutely.
thank you all for tuning in. We truly appreciate you. We can't thank you enough. Most importantly, stay safe out there. Obviously, we live in a very dangerous world, especially today. So stay on your toes. And until we meet again, take care and God bless. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Sean.
thanks, Sean Lee, and thanks to your audience too. They're always great to interact with. I always appreciate their comments. So